Live from WZBC Newton, it is time for First Stop. Not a Saturday morning, but a Monday afternoon here at Boston College. Today we have a great show for you today, jam-packed as always.
Of course. Since the election was on Tuesday, today's podcast is First Stop Election Edition.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be breaking down what happened on Tuesday, what it means for 2018, 2020, and beyond, and how this may be an interesting development in view of the rest of the world. But first, as always, let's do sports. Jacob, lead us off.
All right, so the big news in sports today. Jimmy Butler has been traded to the 76ers. 76ers and the Timberwolves have agreed to a deal that will send Butler and forward Justin Patton to Philadelphia for forwards Robert Covington and Dario Saric and guard Jared Bayless, along with a 2022 second-round pick. In an article by ESPN, Ben Simmons says that the swingman Butler is going to fit in just fine. After thinking about this trade, I think my prediction that I called out in the second or third podcast that moves will be made in the 76ers organization, that either Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will be moved, are finally coming true. I think Minnesota won this trade.
Really?
Because I do not think that Jimmy Butler is going to fit in as nicely as people think in Philadelphia. And that's because what we've seen Jimmy Butler do in the Timberwolves organization is he's made himself known as an egocentric player, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to be the star of this of a team, any NBA team. Going to the 76ers is pretty problematic, and that's why I thought it'd be a better fit with the Knicks, because you already have Ben Simmons there, Joel Embiid, who are two stars in the making, and already don't get along well together. So for that reason, adding a third star is just going to make the 76ers roster more congested, more problematic. Not a lot of passers on that team. Everybody wants to score on that team with the top three dogs of Embiid, Simmons, and Butler. What are you thinking, Eric?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said before, he is an egocentric, narcissistic player. That was for Sam out there because he made fun of me for saying that. But no, I don't know. I think that the 76ers need a point guard. And so, I mean, okay, Markelle Fultz
He's a bust. He's a bust.
Yeah, he is.
Second year. I mean, look, he was injury prone first year,
Yeah.
but now he's averaging, 9 points a game, and in college he was around 28 or 30.
Right.
He's looking like a bust.
Right, exactly. One of my roommates said, they need a point guard. Ben Simmons, Embiid, and Butler. I mean, that's a pretty powerful three. Obviously, it'll probably take a few games for them to get ready for that dynamic. But I don't know if Minnesota really won that trade. I think 76ers did. Yeah. In my opinion, I think they are pretty set. I mean, this will show that they're not now what did you predict? A second-round exit? First-round exit?
I still stand that they're going to be a second-round exit, but you think that they're going to go past that?
I do too, okay. Yeah. I think the Celtics are obviously, 1 or 2 in the East. The Raptors are very solid.
Bucks are looking really nice,
Bucks are looking very nice. I think I think the 76ers just bumped up by having another, you could argue B plus A minus player. He's an A minus A player. I think he's definitely a good player. So I think anything helps. It's just going to be about getting that dynamic down. And that kind of power play. Yeah,
I'm interested to see how Minnesota does. I think they're going to do really well now that Butler's gone and all their issues with the front office is all gone. But I'm excited to see Cat transform into a leader that I know he is.
Yeah.
I'm still excited to see Wiggins still developing. This year's a big year for Wiggins, I think, because he needs to start developing into a star instead of just a scorer. He needs to be more of an all-around player, I think. Mm-hmm. He's still around 20 points a game. I think he could get it up to around 25, 26. But I think there's this, interest in getting these, what I call name brand players in the league.
Yeah.
Like Rajon Rondo, for example.
Right.
That a lot of people who maybe don't follow the NBA very closely or maybe are just now catching up with it and only followed a few years ago now that the Warriors just dominate and not a lot of people are tuning in.
Yeah.
But when the Lakers got Rajon Rondo, a lot of people are saying, Lakers just jumped up a bunch of spots.
No.
Rajon Rondo is a name brand player. He has this excitement with him that he had back in Boston in 2000, 9, 8, I think. But he's not the same player he used to be. I think that's pretty similar to Jimmy Butler, that a lot of people maybe overrate him and think he's a lot more of a team player than he is. It's tough because when he was on Chicago, I thought he was a good team player. I loved him in Chicago. But what I saw in Minnesota, I lost a lot of respect for him. And I'm interested if he changes his egocentric playing and wants to be the star of the team. But I do predict that by the end of this year or the offseason, either Simmons or Embiid will be moved from the 76ers roster because those three won't get along.
Well, speaking of Chicago, what do you think about Derrick Rose kind of going off and kind of coming back?
I love him, man. I mean, he dropped 50 points Halloween night.
Yep.
I mean, it was a perfect story. To tell.
Yes.
Story.
English. Yeah, no, I agree. I think he could have a pretty good season.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing story he's had, kind of coming back from that. I remember in the press conference he said, "Yeah, I worked my ass off." I mean, yeah, he did to go
7
off and
years.
yes. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. So, I think the Wolves look pretty solid. In the East, I think in the West. Or in the West, sorry. The Bucks look obviously solid in the East. I think Celtics
Absolutely.
are. So I don't know. For me, I think it's going to be Celtics, 76ers in the East final.
Okay.
I do. I think so. I think the Raptors are solid, but I think either 76ers or Celtics can definitely unseat them. Now, the way the Celtics have been playing on the road has not been great.
Yeah.
Right? They went 1 of 4 on the 1 of 5 on the road. Right? Their road trip did not go well. I mean, they lost last night against against Portland. They at one point I think the lead that Portland had over them was 20 points. They shorted up, but really it was like, okay, it kind of goes back to what you're saying. You have those star name brand players. Irving, Tatum kind of came out of nowhere last year. As a rookie, just amazing season. Tatum, he kind of went off. He had like 25, 27 points, I think maybe at final. Kyrie was okay, but again, it goes to what you were saying. It was like, Portland's defense was really good last night. I was watching the game a little bit with my rate man. Portland's defense is very, very solid. They really figured out how Kyrie operates and they kind of locked him down at certain points.
Yeah.
But then again, Al, they were feeding it to Al. Al couldn't shoot in the third and the fourth. They really need to find kind of that interior, get into the paint, and the Portland locked it down.
Yeah.
So that was a good win on Portland's part. I think when the Celtics come back, I think they will be dominant at home. I think they'll be like, okay, let's get this shit together. No, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I think they'll be fine. But I'm still sticking with Celtics, 76ers final.
Okay.
For the East.
Yeah. We're approaching 14, 15 games in the NBA schedule, and as I say, and I'll continue to say, 20 games, that's enough games under your belt for any team to figure out everybody's role, if they got new players, how to adjust, etc.
Right.
And this seeding, like you're saying, is, starting to even out and look like what we're supposed to. There's no anomalies in there like Orlando at the top. They're starting to get out.
Now, Indiana kind of came out of nowhere. Oladipo's been very dominant.
Yeah. I predicted Indiana would be very good this year.
Yeah.
But I think there would be like a second round exit.
Yeah.
But top 3 teams in the East as of now, Toronto, Milwaukee, Sixers, and in the West, Warriors, Trailblazers, and the Nuggets. Those are some top 5 teams I had in there. But I'm really liking the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that now that LeBron has left the East, Giannis can definitely step up and not have a mental block playing against LeBron. So that's why I'm picking the Milwaukee Bucks and the Raptors to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And in the West, I'm sticking by the Warriors and Nuggets.
Okay. All right. I mean, but do you really think that the Greek Freak had a mental block because LeBron was here? Or do you think it was truly because LeBron was just so good and he locked them all down?
Yeah, it's tough. I think there is a mental block to playing against LeBron. I mean, he is the greatest player playing right now, and a lot of people can agree with that.
Yeah.
So, like, you look at the Raptors last year, right?
Right.
So they on paper and in play, they had a better team than the Cavs. But because they had LeBron, and you could tell with Lowry and DeRozan that they had a mental block playing against LeBron. They always had, and that's why they're saying that now that LeBron has left, Raptors definitely have a chance to go to the finals.
Right. But then again, like the Lakers have not been doing too hot, in the West. They're okay, but they're nowhere like where we thought they would be. I mean, it's like, okay, they have a young core, but like Rondo has not been doing well. LeBron has been doing okay. I mean, he's obviously not in finals mode yet, but I don't know. I think the Lakers are obviously above average, solid, but I don't know how dominant LeBron has been in the last 30 13 games or whatever they played.
I think
10, 15, 13.
With Los Angeles, it's difficult because they're still figuring out rotations.
Yeah.
So they have Lonzo Ball and Rajon Rondo at the point.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out who they want to be their starting point guard. They alternate every night from Rajon to Lonzo Ball. I'm more of a fan of Lonzo Ball because I think he passes the ball a lot better. He gets a lot more movement out of the players than Rajon Rondo. And also Rondo brings a lot of troubles, to the team. He brings a lot of tenacity, which LeBron loves, but that can be troublesome. Alrighty, so after a quick music break, we're going to come back we're going to get an update to our weekly Chicago versus Cleveland rivalry, see how our teams did this week, or past week that is, and then we're going to do some BC sports updates.
Keep it locked and rocking. Welcome back to First Stop. We're going to break down Cleveland, Chicago. We're also going to talk about BC. Jake, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so this week, Chicago and Cleveland met for, I believe, the first time this season. The Bulls ultimately beat the Cavaliers 99-98 in a close battle. The Cavs are now 1-11. The Bulls are 4-9. Both of our teams aren't looking too good, but I think the Bulls have a much brighter future than the Cavaliers.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, okay, so Kevin Love's out, George Hill is out. So we're relying on Clarkson. We're relying on Tristan Thompson to drop 22. Obviously, Thompson is a good defensive player. He's not really a great offense. He's okay on offense, and now he'll probably have to develop in that kind of hole. Sexton, he's been not bad. I mean, he had 20 points against the Bulls, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. So I mean, quiet-ish. I mean, okay, 20 points is nothing to laugh at, but the spread was kind of even. Thompson 22, Sexton 20, Rodney Hood 20, Clarkson 15, et cetera, et cetera. My boy Kyle Korver dropped 8, so not ideal. And then the Bulls, it was really Levine 24. Ryan Arcidiacono. Yeah.
He was really good at Villanova. He was part of that championship team.
Yeah, 15. So, I mean, your spread was easier, or, kind of more spread out. I don't know. It's tough.
It's tough because I think the Bulls roster is a lot younger than the Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very good base core. So we have Wendell Carter Jr., who we got in the draft this year. We have Zach LaVine, who is playing really nice after his really terrible, it was like an ACL tear or something like that 2 years ago. So he's, playing phenomenal. Markkanen is hopefully coming back soon. And last year, as we saw in his rookie year, he was a phenomenal player. And Jabari Parker, our pickup from the offseason, is also doing really great. So we have a good combination of guards and forwards. With the Cavaliers, I think their average age on the team is probably, 30 or 29?
Yeah, it's up there.
So, and it's tough because when you look at your roster, to be in contention, you have to have at least a B player to be an average team.
Yeah.
And I have trouble, picking out a B player because J.R. Smith is always hot and cold, right?
Yeah,
Tristan Thompson is probably B minus maybe, but there's no dominant player.
No. Well, Larry Nance had 14 rebounds, so I mean he's definitely trying to corner that defensive ability.
Yeah.
And trying to get that transition game going. No, I agree. I don't see how we're gonna have a player that's I would say a B plus. I think Tristan Thompson maybe is a B minus. Sexton probably a B for being a rookie. He's a solid player.
Yeah.
I mean he's gonna get developed in Cleveland after 20 games, I would say. So I just think we don't have a B player. Kyle Korver has his games. J.R. Smith, I think we have to accept the fact, or not accept the fact, but realize he's not good. No one should ever think J.R. Smith is good. He has his moments, yes, but how often? I mean, he shot 23% in the finals.
He's like Rajon Rondo to me, where he's a name brand player that J.R. Smith, he's not as good as he used to be when he was in Denver. It's tough because with Chicago or New York or L.A., you have a much greater potential of pulling big free agents because it's a big market.
Yeah.
You want to play for Chicago, New York.
I would say Houston. Cleveland, though, too. Cleveland sports have come back.
I would say they're coming back, but if there was an option between playing in Cleveland and New York, I think any NBA player would want to play for the Knicks.
But see, would you have said that though when LeBron was there? I mean, I would argue, people would want to play with LeBron. People would want to play in Cleveland
because that was LeBron, not because of the Cavs.
But I think that LeBron being in Cleveland brought back the city as a sports hub. You have the Indians winning. Okay, the Browns, but LeBron, the Cavs, and the Indians, that it kind of made Cleveland put them back on the map as a kind of a sports kind of city.
Okay,
we're nowhere near. I agree, nowhere near L.A., New York, Boston. but like at least we're on the map. Like when people think sports in America, they're gonna say New York, LA, Boston, then Cleveland. They're not gonna say like Indiana or Indianapolis or St. Louis, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying you. Yeah, you're definitely probably not wrong. I don't know. I would say like.
I think it's
a second tier city with sports.
I think the Cavs are a team that will build through the draft rather than free agents.
I agree with that.
So you guys have to get, and in the past few years, you've had some troubles with the draft. What was it? It was like, I think 2000, Anthony Bennett.
Yeah.
First round pick.
Yep.
Or first overall pick, and he's projected to go mid first round. Yeah. Where is he now?
Yeah, where is he now? Yeah, that worked really well. No, I agree. I mean, I can see what you're saying, but. Yeah, you probably I doubt we'll pull people. You're probably right. Yeah.
But built through the draft.
Yeah.
But you have Sexton is looking promising.
Yeah.
So if he continues to perform well, then the Cavs can do.
Yeah. Hopefully, he just doesn't skirt after this year, right? I mean, hopefully, he just doesn't leave. And
that's the problem.
Right. That's the thing is like these rookies will build up their names. Wherever, and then they'll skirt somewhere. Now, do I believe like Tatum would? No, I think Tatum's here to stay in Boston at least.
Yeah.
I think he's a franchise rookie.
Oh,
he's
second
year,
year.
So yeah, right. So I mean, I don't know. You're probably right though. Build in the draft. It'll probably take 3-4 years. I'll predict for the Cavs to actually make an appearance in the finals again, or in the playoffs again, by building through the draft, making really smart draft trades, like not trading like Love for a first round pick, but trading like. An average player for 2 second-round picks, right? And building that medium core so that you can like go forward and have a lot of momentum, not just one top player to bring up the whole team.
Yeah. Browns and Bears, we are a reflection of one another, a mirror image. You guys are 3-6, we are 6-3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit I'm very surprised with the Bears' performance this year. Mac was a big pickup, but I still didn't think Trubisky
did well.
He's doing well. He's a better quarterback than Jay Cutler. He's not throwing 17 interceptions in a game. But
honestly,
they look promising. Browns, one more win. You're out your prediction, 4 games, but you're still capping at 4?
I am. Because like you've always said, happiness is determined by your expectance over reality.
Reality over expectations.
Yep, that's exactly what I meant. And I don't think we should. I mean, okay, we're going up against the Bengals, then the Texans, then Panthers, then Broncos, then Bengals, then Ravens. I don't know. Yeah, Falcons. Yeah, no, I think I'm capping it at 4. But like I said before, I will take 4 off of a season where we won nothing after 2 years where we didn't win a game. I mean, I will take 4, and obviously Mayfield's press conference. Did you see that?
I didn't know.
It was so funny. He was just like a goon. Someone asked him, he's like, "So how are you feeling this morning when you woke up?" He's like, "I was feeling quite dangerous." And everyone just started laughing. It sounded like a laugh track was played. Yeah, everyone was laughing. He was like, "Yeah, I was feeling quite dangerous." And then someone asked, "Well, what about that one, crossover to I forget who he was passing to?" And he said, "Yeah, it was pretty sick, wasn't it?" And another laugh track. Like this guy was just absolutely confident. I mean, I would be. I mean, we 28-16 against the Falcons. I will definitely take that. So we're 3-6 and 1. So
I'm still not a big fan of Baker Mayfield.
I don't know why you're not.
I'm looking at his stat line. His QB rating is pretty low. It's his rookie year. I mean, I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
But so I'm not a big believer in him now. I'm gonna wait till next year because I think that's the big prediction after you've had a year under your belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think as we said last podcast, the issue with the Browns is being patient.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree.
So not changing up management. Did they pick They moved their head coach, right?
Yeah, they moved the second
their
assistant coach. Yeah. Okay. So they signed him to like a 3 or 4 year contract. So So we got someone. The thing with Mayfield is, I would agree he's not like a star. Like, okay, Mahomes. Mahomes is dominant. Mahomes is a very, very solid quarterback. Yeah, I mean, Mayfield is a very, mid-range, solid quarterback as a rookie. I think he's a very great pick for the Browns. He is so much more comfortable, as I've said in the past. He just looks comfortable. Does he throw interceptions? Yes. Are there a lot of them? No, but he still needs to work on that. Management of the field, I think he did well in the Falcons. I think he was scanning the field much better, much more effectively this time than he was last time. Yeah. And so I think that's what pulled out the win. Browns got a record in franchise history, 92-yard touchdown run by Chubb. Congratulations, Browns. That's the longest run we've had in our franchise. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I was looking at highlights of Mayfield, and he doesn't look that mobile of a quarterback. Like he looked very pressured in the pocket.
He's not athletic.
That could be a issue of their offensive line.
One of the reporters in the press conference asked him. They said, "Would you guys ever do like a maverick play where he passes to the running back, he runs on the field, and then they throw it to him?" And he said, "No, I'm not that athletic." He said, "I'm very slow," and they all started laughing because he's not athletic in that sense where he could run and and be agile. So he will probably be a throwing quarterback, and he will focus on that. He's not going to be Mahomes who can run. Yeah. He's not going to be. Brady doesn't really run that much. I mean, he's very cautious. But I think Mayfield can develop that, and I think he can kind of corner himself.
Yeah, he's not like a Cam Newton player.
No, exactly not. But, well, I mean, BC played Clemson this week.
That's right, yeah. It was a windy, it was a cold, it was a rainy day on Saturday morning.
It was.
You could start lining up. So ESPN Game Day came to BC.
It's awesome.
For the second time in the year's history since 2009. You could start lining up for game day, and they set it up on Stokes Lawn at 5 a.m.
Yep.
5 o'clock in the morning. And, Eric and I and Austin, head correspondent, and a few other guys, we decided to go there at 6:30.
Yep.
No way it's going to be packed at 5.
No.
A picture came out that the line to get in at 5 was, I don't know.
It was right by Higgins Hall, which is like, I don't know, like...
It was down the stairs, I think, too.
Yeah. So it was quite long. I would say the line was probably like, I don't know, like 500 yards long, would you say?
Yeah, I agree.
There was definitely like 200, 300 people lining up, at that time. Duncan was packed, so we couldn't get Duncan.
No.
It was unreal to have game day there.
It was so fun.
It was so electric. The amount of energy that BC brought at game day definitely carried through to that first quarter against Clemson.
Absolutely.
And and we'll talk about the game itself, but no, having game day there was awesome. It brought a lot of energy. It put BC, like the school looked great. It always does. Yeah. I mean, it was a cloudy day, but Gasson looked amazing. Yeah. I think the one of the reporter or one of the hosts of game day turned to the whole audience at the end and said, "If you bring this amount of energy tonight, there will be an upset," which was like awesome. Everyone went nuts.
Yeah.
And he was also like. He's like, yeah, and if you guys win, you guys are all going to the mods, am I right? So he actually knew the school, and everyone started like going nuts because that was pretty cool that he knew the mods and Stokes. He said he likes Stokes.
Kirk Herbstreit, I believe.
Yeah, that was who it was. So it was electric. It was fun. Glad we did that. Glad they came to us.
Oh yeah.
So
it was so much fun. I mean, Corso always does his mascot pick at the end, and we weren't expecting much, but Desmond Howard and Chris O'Donnell both picked BC.
Yeah.
Chris O'Donnell, he was an alum, so that was a given.
Okay, so we got one pick.
But Desmond Howard, I mean, that was a big surprise. And then Corso, he picked the Tigers
that was
mascot.
Not great. Yeah.
So we were pumped going into the game.
Yep.
And then start of the game happens, Eric.
Clemson drives down the field early on, like 3 minutes in.
Absolutely.
Very dominant. Trevor Lawrence, he is amazing. No, he's an amazing quarterback. I mean,
I think they said the commentators were saying that Lawrence's talent is as good as Peyton Manning. Like he's like the next Peyton Manning, next like all-time great quarterback. Right. It was so fun to watch him play. Yep. I mean, he not only threw the ball so accurate and fast and precise, but he was fast.
Yeah.
He was so fast.
He's so fast. 6'4", and he can just see the whole field. He looked so comfortable in the pocket. He looked professional.
He was like Brady and Newton combined. Like his athleticism was like unreal. He threw the ball great.
Yeah. No, he was fun to watch.
He's a true freshman too, which is even crazier.
Yeah, he's a generational player. Definitely. But no, they drove down the field early on, got a field goal, so it was 3-0, 3 minutes in. Then I believe we drove down the field. We drove down the field. Then they got it back. And then they punted. On that punt return, we got a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, people listening at home, I thought those stands were about to come down. Like everyone was jumping like crazy. I've never seen the stadium. Obviously, it's only been 2 years, but I've never seen the stadium that electric and that it literally felt like Alumni Stadium was about to collapse.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we just scored on Clemson, and that was quite awesome. It was a cool moment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're up 7-3 at that point. And then unfortunately...
They just took control.
Took control, and Anthony Brown had an upper body injury that was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
One of their linebackers, they had a promo during game day. They have two linebackers who are 6'4", 305, 6'6".
Yeah, they're massive.
And they're use them
D-line.
as unreal.
Yeah.
So one of those guys just tackled Anthony Brown and fell on him, and you could tell it was I think they said like it might be like an internal injury too. Which,
I heard broken rib.
It's tough.
That's very tough.
But even though we lost the game, it's still good for BC because we had a game day. We still looked great. We're still on the map. We're still ranked.
Right. 22nd.
Yeah, we're still ranked, and the program's only going to go up from here.
Yep.
With this kind of, I'm blanking on the word, but this amount of press.
Yeah, press. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think Dylan's going to lead this year. He needs that stat line to come up because he was injured.
Okay,
so
interesting.
Right, because he wants to get Heisman, obviously. And he was in contention then. He got injured and he was out. So I think he's going to stay one more year. And if he can do well next year for us and we can build that, a better defensive core. I take that back. If we can build a better offense, because our defense really is what was going to win us the game. It's going to be special teams and defense. So our defense was solid. I mean, we that's kind of what happened. We knocked down a few of Lawrence's passes, But so it's about the offense. They locked down a running game, obviously, because their D-line is so dominant. They locked down a running game that really hinders us because we're relying on Dylan and running it.
Yeah, I think it's tough too because A.J. Dillon could stay another year because when you're playing a team like Clemson, that is an NFL-type team.
Yeah.
Almost everybody on that roster is probably going to the NFL. And if you only rush for 39 yards, granted he was injured, but he said he was about 95% ready to go.
Yep.
You got to perform better than 39 yards on 16 attempts.
But then again, I don't know how he could, though. Those big guys were just blocking, stopping them. Their tight ends were just dominant. I think their one tight end's like 6'5", like 285, just pure muscle. This man is just a giant.
Yeah.
And he was just locking down that strong side every time. So I don't know how much Dylan could have done, truly. We ran a lot more than we should have.
We went back to what we did last year, which frustrated both of us.
Yeah.
Was that every play was like a halfback dive down the middle every time.
Every time. And obviously when with Brown out, who's the second string guy?
E.J. Perry.
Yeah, Perry. Adazio didn't trust Perry enough to put him in to allow him to throw. Perry did not have a lot of throwing ability, looks, and he should have. Because that's how we were going to win against Clemson, or at least get a try at Clemson, is the passing game.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. I think we need an elite wide receiver. You have a quarterback who's average.
I agree.
Anthony Brown's, he has to stay because he's injury prone, but he was never looking like an NFL quarterback when he was playing. A.J. Dillon, he was, looking like a top first-rounder pick, but obviously with his injuries and lack of performance in the second half of the season, isn't looking too bright. So,
but he's going to stay. He's going to stay. He's going to be dominant next year.
BC's on the rise. For football, let's talk about BC hockey.
Yeah. So real quick, Jacob, Austin, and I went to the Vermont game this week. They won 4-1 in game one, and then they played Vermont again. They won 3-2. BC hockey is not bad. They look better than what we saw them in the beginning. Their transitions were much smoother. Their transition game was much smoother. However, they can't capitalize on power plays. Every power play we had, there was like maybe one or two shots, nothing happening. So we need, the BC hockey needs to form up on power plays, really capitalize on those because, playing a team like Vermont, they're okay. Obviously, I think we were projected to beat them anyways. But that home opener when we lost, 7-0 or something?
7-0.
Yeah, 7-0. That's just not a good look. BC hockey is not a bad not a bad team this year. We have a guy named Julius Mattia. He's from Finland. His brother's also on it too. Mattia was dominant both games. So he was shooting, he was firing on all cylinders. I think he got 2 goals first game, maybe 1 goal second game. So yeah, he's definitely going to be our kind of star this year.
Yes.
So I think BC hockey is going to be very solid. We're not going to be like we were in the past. York obviously is a very awesome coach. He's huge for the program.
Absolutely.
So BC hockey is looking pretty solid, and we'll be right back with our political segment because it is, as you all know, election special. Keep it locked and rocking. Jim Acosta's press pass was revoked after an uncomfortable encounter with President Trump at a White House press conference, where Acosta, refusing to yield the floor for the next question, continued to press President Trump on the Russia investigation. The president told Acosta to sit down, quote, "You are a disgrace to your profession." A White House press aide tried to get the mic out of his hands, and he batted her away and kept speaking.
And then we just learned a few minutes ago that Stan Lee, the Marvel superhero creator, executive producer, he died this afternoon at the age of 95. He'll be very missed. For listeners who don't know, I'm a big fan of superhero Marvel films, Marvel comics. I loved them growing up. I still love the movies and the comics. He was a big part of like me childhood and stuff. So Spider-Man was my favorite character. What about yours?
I'm not really into Marvel that much. I always liked
DC. Are you a DC kind of guy?
Superman. Is he Marvel?
So he's DC.
DC.
So
I've always
DC.
liked Superman. I also always liked Iron Man.
Yeah.
He's Marvel, right? Yeah.
He is Marvel.
Yeah, I always liked Iron Man.
Marvel's still going to be in good hands though. With their they're still going to be in good hands. I'm not nervous with him passing away, but hopefully he has a cameo in the Avengers Infinity Wars Part 2 that comes out this summer, but he will be missed. And Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, will still be running their corporation very nicely. So, yeah, rest in peace.
The Polish High Court has overturned a ban on the nationalist march that is planned to go forward. It was on Sunday, with many of the European far right hailing this a victory. The march, while not predominantly containing far-right members, does feature a member of the nationalist movement called the Black Bloc that articulates, quote, pure blood, sober minds, and other ethno-nationalist stances. Hanna Gronkiewicz-Waltz, the Warsaw mayor, banned the march, saying that this would inspire hatred and violence. The High Court rejected this on free speech grounds, while many argue this is the effect of the nationalist government, the Law and Order Party, of President Duda for changing the High Court to be far-right. Now for the political segment. This is the election special. We had an election on Tuesday. The United States has voted. And let's break down what happened. So Democrats have taken the House and gained 30 seats. Republicans have kept the Senate and actually expanded their majority. So in the House, you only need 208 to have a majority. So 208 plus 1 to have a majority. 51 in the Senate.
Okay.
So I have currently, so they're still counting votes. I mean, they're still like, because some of them were so close. I'm on Guardian.com. A liberal biased news source. Republicans obviously got 51, 32 of 35 races called. Democrats 227 seats, Republicans 198. They still have 10 races to call. In Ohio, I know for Ohio listeners out there, Sherrod Brown won the Senate. That's not a surprise. And I'll break down what his kind of ideology is and what that means for Ohio. Mike DeWine won governor. He's a Republican, and he's kind of a John Kasich-style Republican. Also break down what that means. And then also Ohio 14 in my district, Dave Joyce won. He was a Republican. And the reason I bring up Ohio is because I always thought, and everyone always thinks, that Ohio is the bellwether state. Yeah. We have predicted presidential elections more than any other state has. Okay. Even 2016, we Ohio voted for Trump, and he ultimately won. So we voted for Obama in 2008. I believe Obama, or maybe Romney in 2012. So Ohio has been the one that always calls it. Ohio has every single economic sector, has every single religion, every single ethnicity, and every single political ideology in the state. Where I'm from, Cleveland, or south of Cleveland, it's very much industrial focused, industrial dominated, and so that. If you pull up a map of Ohio, electoral map, there's a huge blue band that runs from Toledo, which is on the west part of the state, all the way to the east. And that's basically all manufacturing. The river, where it runs down kind of the peninsula to West Virginia border, that has always been coal/industrial, and they've always gone blue. They've been blue-collar, kind of populist, Democrat voters. However, because of Trump shifting the political divide in America to Republicans more or less being more pro-worker and Democrats kind of losing that base, Ohio River went red. And if you look at the map, it's not super red. It wasn't dark, but it certainly changed and it flipped. And that's obviously changed in my parents' lifetime where that's gone. Columbus, very Democratic. They're very, obviously a big city, tends to be more liberal, barring a few of the Texas state cities. But Columbus went blue. But yeah, Ohio, Sherrod Brown was not a surprise because he kind of encapsulates, currently there's a lot on both sides that are saying that Sherrod Brown encapsulates that kind of pro-industrial, pro-worker, left that was in America, and it's now kind of coming back. Democrats are struggling with that because you have Nancy Pelosi, who kind of encapsulates a kind of I don't know, more moderate on economic policy, left on social, kind of California Democrat, versus a Tim Ryan who challenged her a few years ago for speakership or minority speakership, who is actually in the district next to mine, who is this populist kind of industrial focused guy. So you're seeing the party have to shift. The Democratic Party probably will have to shift, I'm predicting, to more of that populist left. You see Bernie doing really, really well in 2016, again capturing that populist left element. Trump, a populist right, kind of shifted the parties, and we've seen a shift. Never before have Republicans been pro-worker. Maybe when Lincoln founded the party, but really it really went to a pro-business party. They've kind of shifted because of him, and we're seeing kind of a very painful political shift in the country because people are torn. Who do I vote for? Do I vote for the party or do I vote for the person who maybe stands for pro-work or pro-business? Yeah. It's a very, very tough divide.
So with the first half of Trump's office, he had both the House and Senate.
Yes.
Correct. So now that there's a split, what does this mean for the Trump administration?
So this is very frustrating for him legislatively because he won't be able to enact a lot of the stuff he wanted to get done in the beginning. I believe the Republicans passed through over 300 minor bills in their time in House and Senate. Deregulation, the tax cut was huge. They attempted to get health care. They attempted immigration reform. He strengthened ICE. He kind of deshackled ICE. That took Senate responsibility. So it will be frustrating for him legislatively with the House gone because now he can't enact other things. He can't protect against gun control reform and stuff like that. Now, that being said, having the Senate is huge because now he can confirm justices, which is if you're conservative, that is good for an ideology because that's a long-term thing. Because if you have the courts on your side, then obviously your ideology gets furthered. So he has the courts. Now, not having the House means in 2020 it may be difficult for him to run on policy that he enacted. He can say, I confirmed the most amount of conservative justices, but will that get people off the couch? Yeah. Will that get Catholics off the couch? Catholics are always the ones that, for conservatives, they need to get them off the couch, abortion, et cetera, et cetera. They're the tough ones to get off the couch. That being said, though, having the courts for the Trump administration, and if you are conservative, that is big because now you can confirm more Supreme Court justices if possible. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg sadly had a fall, and obviously I hope for a recovery. And who knows? Will she retire? Other justices are getting up there in age, so he could have 3. Obama tried to have 3. He had Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and he tried obviously with what's his name, Merrick Garland. Yes. So having the Senate is obviously fine. Now, I would like to point out that this truly was not a blue wave under any circumstances. The Democrats did take the House. However, that is a historical precedent. The opposing party is always supposed to do well in midterms. Obama saw this in 2010, 2014. 2010 being the lowest turnout of any United States midterm. The Republicans picked up 63 seats. That was the largest gain of Republican seats in 2010 since like 1928. So he had a bath. And then 2014, Republicans picked up, I believe, 13. So like they not as big. So it wasn't really a red wave in 2014. 2010 was motivated by Obamacare. A lot of people were not happy about what Obamacare was going to do. Therefore, they voted and kind of did away with that. 2014 was dominated by environmentalists because they wanted more, on the left at least, more environmental regulation. You also had the Tea Party. That was a thing way back when that motivated libertarians to get off the couch. This time, however, a lot of people probably look back. Obviously, it's really early to tell. But I would say that this one more or less was a referendum on Trump, but it was also a referendum on the effectiveness of conservatives because conservatives had both House, Senate, majority of state legislatures, and the White House. And they passed through majority 300 odd bills. They passed through tax cut, but they did nothing else. They did obviously Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, but besides that, nothing big. Healthcare reform, et cetera, et cetera. So that what I would say is it is a win for the Democrats in that they'll get policy enacted, but they did not get the blue wave. They underperformed. They only picked up 30 seats, and they were projected to pick up like 60 or 75.
Okay.
Because Trump is a very unpopular president. He's under 50%. In some polls, over 50%. Obama was around there, and he lost the House by 63. So not a blue wave. I think that what this means going forward for the Democrats is Nancy Pelosi outlined, she's assumed to be the next Speaker of the House. She outlined the party's 6 goals while in House. Number 1 is very bipartisan. She wants to say we are trying to unite this country. We're not going to be divisive. And what she wants is called a campaign ethics reform package, where it's campaign finance reform. That means, you can't have big donors donating X amount of money, like unions or, billionaires, etc. You can't have them donating. She also wants to change electoral ad laws, because you can just dominate airwaves and really box out opponents, so there should be more balance. Mm-hmm. So that's number 1. Number 2 is far more politically charged. It's gun control. After, the recent shooting in Thousand Oaks, and obviously the middle school shootings that we've seen in the past, that kind of tailors to their base more, and so we will probably see not only the NRA running ads, but the Democrats running ads saying let's trying to rile up popular support for gun control. This has always been on the left, they've always wanted to do this if they ever took control of the House, and so they probably will. Third, I believe, is kind of tweaking Obamacare, because Obamacare is popular. People like Obamacare. It just needed reformed. It got a lot of people health insurance that they didn't have before. And the individual mandate was probably the most unpopular thing. But there are 3 things that were popular. College students can stay on their parents' health insurance till 25. No pre-existing conditions. That's the biggest one, which means if you have cancer and you switch insurances because the insurance won't cover it, you won't get knocked by other insurances for more money.
Okay.
That was huge. Mike DeWine in Ohio ran on that, saying I'm for pre-existing conditions. And finally, you can go to any healthcare provider, out there. So those are the big 3 that Obamacare got right, in a lot of people's minds. And so Republicans had a hard time fighting that, and that's why they were kind of ineffective in repealing healthcare in 2017 really, when they took over. So this I think shows more or less it was a split referendum. If you want to say it was a referendum on Trump, it was a split decision because he kept the Senate. He actually expanded in the Senate, kept the House. But again, it's a split Congress now. Now, hopefully, what that means is, because I would always say Trump is more of a Democrat, at least campaign Trump was a Democrat on economic policy. He always talked about infrastructure. He always talked about pro kind of worker bring back manufacturing. What that means is now with a Democratic House, you could do true infrastructure spending. Republicans have historically been fiscally conservative, fiscally hawks, yes. Yeah. And so they would never in a million years pass through a infrastructure plan.
Okay.
So this could mean that he could get real breakthroughs in doing that, a bipartisan effort.
Is there a historically with how midterms perform and then the next presidential election, mm-hmm. Can we use midterms as a indicator of how the presidential elections will turn out, if it's going to keep the same side or if it's going to be a switch?
Most certainly. So a guy developed, I forget the name, I'm blanking on the name, but if everyone at home looks up the keys to the White House, this political scientist outlines, I believe, in 10 things, 10 metrics. Will a party keep the White House, or will they get the White House? And what it lays out is all these different reforms: booming economy, war, winning a war, losing a war, etc., keeping the House, keeping the Senate, etc. Those are the biggest ones. They have the most weight. If you keep the House and the Senate, that's a lot of momentum. We speak a lot about momentum in sports. There's a lot of momentum in politics if you can keep either one of the 2 chambers or if you keep both. Because if you keep both, like Republicans did after the Civil War for 20, 30 years, FDR kept both House and Senate during the Great Depression. That's a lot of momentum to get stuff passed. Now, obviously, FDR's ended in 1932 with people, with I think Republicans taking the House. That being said, though, he got a lot of stuff passed through. And so, yes, I would say that this one is very weird. This election, this midterm, I should say, is very odd because we don't know what the American people think. They kept the Senate, and the Democrats picked up the House. Well, what does that truly mean? That means that on the ground, because the House changes every 2, the Senate changes, every 6, because you get a third of the senators up for re-election each time. That was purposeful so that, people aren't inspired by passions to change the Congress quite fast. That being said, keeping the Senate and losing the House, I don't know what that tells us, really. I mean, I think that tells us that people on the ground were far more inspired, in the direct elections by the House. And in the Senate, that could have just been very unpopular candidates. Heidi Heitkamp lost her election. Ted Cruz was, I was about to talk about this. Ted Cruz was in a close race against Beto O'Rourke. It's a hard name, sorry, to pronounce. But Ted Cruz pulled out the win, 50.9% to 48.3%. Now, I was reading something about the Texas election, and they didn't expect to win. And if they did win, that would have just been gravy for Democrats. But what one Democratic strategist said was this was to establish an infrastructure in Texas to win over predominantly Hispanic voters around the border. If you look at the Texas electoral map, the only places that went blue besides Dallas, which is up in the top kind of, was the border. The border went blue, and they believe because that's a very heavily Hispanic segment of the population. Yeah, you grew up in Texas, kind of, right? Yeah, you lived there,
for
right?
about 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of worrying for some Republicans that Ted Cruz would be in such a close race. Big name, conservative state. Texas is switching. I mean, Hispanic population is growing in Texas, and they are voting Democrat. Now, what would this mean electorally? Well, obviously, if it goes blue, if Texas ever does go blue, which is possible, obviously anything is possible, Democrats have a real hold on presidential elections.
I was going to say, because if they have Texas, then they have California as well.
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of game over.
And then Florida, Hispanic populations in Florida are shifting, especially around by Miami and up on the West Coast. There's still obviously the Panhandle and down is more fiscally conservative, socially conservative as well. Though that would be tough. Northern Virginia is a place to look too. Northern Virginia is predominantly black, and they always blacks in Virginia tend to vote more Democrat, although that is split because Virginia is a very odd subset of culture. So you have some blacks who will vote Republican, some that will vote Democrat. But in Northern Virginia, that population is growing. So Virginia is under, if you're a Republican, under threat. If you're a Democrat, that's hopefully great because Virginia is a huge electoral seat. New England's obviously secure for Democrats. Ohio is, I would argue, safe for Republicans going forward. Sherrod Brown winning is no shock, but Mike DeWine winning in the governor's race against Richard Cordray and Sutton, two big Democratic names. Cordray was a part of the Consumer Protection Agency under Obama, very popular because it protected consumers and stuff like that. He worked with Elizabeth Warren. Betty Sutton worked on Cash for Clunkers. Now that's a very huge names nationally, and they lost to Mike DeWine, who's been dominant in Ohio politics ever since 1990s. But he was definitely not supposed to win right when he jumped in. So that showed me at least that Ohio may be shifting more towards a red state as a leans red state as opposed to a toss-up state, although we'll see what happens with the next senatorial election. But yeah, Sherrod Brown, 53.2%. Jim Renacci, 46.8%. Jim Renacci's a very, very conservative guy. As for fiscally, he's I would say a libertarian. Socially, I would say more or less maybe a Trump on immigration, stuff like that. He jumped on the Trump train quite quick. He was embroiled in a corruption scandal that might have rocked his campaign slightly. Sherrod Brown is just a juggernaut in Ohio at least. So, yeah. So I would say the Dems' goals in the new Congress would be establish a policy footing so that when running in 2020, whoever they pick, and there's obviously what's the word?
Skeptical?
Not skeptical. When you're proposing, well, there's names out there that people think they may run. Absurd names, I would say, The Rock Johnson, Oprah. I don't see how they would ever jump in. Now, anything could happen in the next 2 years. And those are lifetimes in politics. But whoever they run, whether it's a Cory Booker, maybe Elizabeth Warren, maybe I don't see Elizabeth Warren, but whoever the Democrats have, having a policy backing from the House would be strong going into that thing, going into the election. Now, what does this mean in 2018? Well, that means that the tax bill is somewhat under threat. Or some argue no, it's not under any threat whatsoever because it's popular. It's created millions of jobs. I think currently it's created 5 or to 6 to 7 million jobs. I don't know the official numbers. Unemployment's at an all-time low. I think we landed on the moon the last time unemployment's been this low. Job participation is what needs to come next. People need to start jumping in the workforce for the economy to kind of reach its full capacity. That's still hovering around, I believe, 79%, maybe 69%. I don't know the numbers. I apologize. But I don't know if the tax cut is under threat. Middle class tax cuts could be enacted. That would be huge for the Democrats if they could pivot a kind of trap Trump's ideological kind of platform, like middle class to working class. If they could pivot and say, like, we stand for the middle class more than he does, etc. That's possible. Gun reform, I think we're seeing that. I think we're probably going to see that. They have a lot of political clout with that. What else? Healthcare reform, yes. I think campaign finance, that's just to like build political capital. That's nothing more. That's really just for them to say we're balanced, we're not trying to be divisive, and so that they can keep popularity up. Also to build bipartisanship. Okay. And I'm trying to think what else. Nancy Pelosi said another thing that she said would be huge for them to pass through. Obviously, this is the one thing that worries Republicans is the House controls impeachment. Now, would I ever think that they would go for impeachment? No, but it is certainly on the table. Robert Mueller is still investigating the Russia investigation, and that is a potential thing. So basically, what you need is House files articles of impeachment. The Senate would then be the one that vote on articles of impeachment. The Chief Justice would become the presiding judge, and then they would have the trial. Basically, Clinton obviously was impeached, and I just don't. It's too politically divisive. There's a thing called politically bloodied, and it would be too politically bloodied for the Democrats to do it. It would just show that they're kind of at their wits' end with frustrations. That being said, the whole Kavanaugh, what's confirmation technically was politically bloodied as well because it showed their frustration. So impeachment's certainly on the table. I wouldn't say on the table. It's a possibility. Okay. On the table means it's likely going to happen. I don't think impeachment's ever going to happen unless something serious comes out against Trump, and it's legitimate. But I think as a political tool, I don't see the Democrats doing that. They would lose horribly because I think moderate Americans would just see that as like a political tool. That being said, on an objective lens, if there is something serious that Robert Mueller finds as far as the Russia investigation, then of course their constitutional duty is to impeach, and they would follow that through. And then we'd have a hearing. So that's the other thing that worries a lot of conservatives, and that's what Trump said in the lead up to the midterms. Impeachment is on the table. Remember that. I remember him saying that at one of the rallies. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll definitely see how it unfolds every week because it's always developing. I think when the new Congress gets sworn in, we'll see a lot of stuff get moving, and I think in the Senate we'll see a lot of justices get confirmed. Mitch McConnell said we will confirm the most amount of justices to circuit courts and et cetera, in the history of the country. So that's what got people off the couch, and we'll probably see that happen.
Alrighty. All right, so after a quick music break, we are going to conclude today's podcast. Eric, the usual catchphrase, keep it locked and rockin'.
Here on WZBC. All right, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that song by Phoenix called 1901. I actually really like that song. It was popular, I don't know, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, so we thank you for joining today's podcast. It was a lot of fun. Sorry for not doing the usual Saturday morning, but we had the big game day, Clemson versus BC. But we still came out Monday afternoon. Always excited to do this podcast.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us here at First Stop. We will be going live this upcoming Saturday at 9 a.m. on WVBC with potentially a new special guest. As usual, you can follow us on SoundCloud at First Stop WZBC, so soundcloud.com/firststopofficial. Check out our new website, firststopofficial.com, to check out our blogs, articles. If you want to check out more of Eric's political discussions, we have a whole page for that. Sam has some great sports articles out there. And then Minogia and I have some nice entertainment articles out there.
Yep.
We do plan on putting these podcasts on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, iTunes. We think that's going to be a lot more accessible to most people. And plus, we're going to have all our podcasts on there at once instead of only the top 2 on SoundCloud.
Exactly. I'd also like to shout out Pat and Jack. I know we forgot to hit you guys up last time. Hello, Pat and Jack. Hope you guys are having a great day. Anyways, also Austin, our chief correspondent, did well at his recital on Sunday. If you are from BC, check out the Winter Orchestra Show. It sells out immediately, so definitely try to get on those tickets. They pair up the orchestra with the chorale, and let me tell you, the orchestra is an amazing asset at BC. They're so good.
Phenomenal.
Austin plays the clarinet. He did really well. And yeah, so we thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again on Saturday at 9.
That's right.
We will see you at the next stop.